Good one, Yubi. Good one. Leave it to you guys to be. Oh my gosh, it's so dark in here. Let me change that real quick. Much better. Okay, now we're back. All right, well, you guys were certainly quick. Were you like going on my page being like, ooh, I'm going to get to pause stream exactly on time? Well, that's usually something that like the autistic community likes to think about is, oh, you're 1 minute late. You terrible, terrible person. That's been my experience with those kinds of people. So, how are you both doing today? Are you both super excited for Sparks of Hope and Persona 5 Royal and Sonic Frontiers? And actually, I think Near Automata already came out, and Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. That's what I am excited about. I don't know if anyone else. I'm doing great, Yubi. Oh, I just literally said how good I was doing. So I guess just rewind a couple of seconds in your brain and I'll say that I'm pretty excited for those new games. Not very excited about those new Pokemon games, though. I already told Peggle because I was afraid of breaking your heart, but man, that looks rough. Hey, it's Luna back again. Congratulations. Guys, Luna is actually a cat boy, but just with a name change back to how the name originally was. So if you were here last time, hopefully you don't have to reintroduce yourself. Hello, Caitlin. Glad you could make it. And you're just not even trying to hide the twang anymore. Really, that's really cute. Hello, Teresa. Well, dang. I am so not used to this many people being excited for my live streams. Glad you could make it. I hope I managed to address everyone here. Let's hear about some well beings. Everyone just spam the chat about the latest and greatest things going on. Let me know games you've been playing, things you've been doing, good things God has been doing in your life. Grateful that Roe v. Wade was abolished. You name it, bring it on. Just be aware that I'm not going to be politically correct about anything. Well, hey, maybe I can change the not positive things in your life to something positive, Luna. So you can go ahead and spam that too. I'm an optimist, so I like to take even the most hopeless of situations and try to turn them into something good. So we will see. Yes. Javel, you would think that you would want to play Wario's Woods with how much you mentioned you like Toad, because that game actually does star Toad. It's a puzzle game that was one of the last first party NES games to be released, so I don't think it's on Switch Online, but you can always double check. You got a new Pokemon card. I didn't know they still make. Oh, of course they make them. It's Pokemon. They milk that franchise to the ground. Uh, yeah. Significant others breaking up is terrible. I'm sure I told you this, Luna, but my wait, your girlfriend is Pokemon or you like Pokemon? I'm not sure I get what you mean by it's Pokemon, but yeah, my girlfriend cheated on me back. It was a while ago, back in like 2018. We've forgiven each other. More specifically, I forgave her. She wasn't too mad at me for anything. Got your red blood cells. That's good, Teresa. Glad to hear that. Don't know what the practical application is, but if it means you're not as sick and needing as many medical bills, that's good. I'm sorry for the shaky cam, guys. I'm actually in my mom's bedroom for reasons, I guess. And well, let me see if I can get the camera in a more less, that's terrible grammar, a less shaky position. That should work. Oh, yeah. Well, Toad actually did speak English in Super Mario Sunshine. And a couple of times he would say things in the Mario Party and Mario Kart games. It's just that most people don't consider Mario Sunshine's voice acting to be that great. So, in a lot of instances, People don't like to consider Bowser's voice in that game to be canon. World Mental Health Awareness Day. That is good to know because I thought it was only Columbus Day. I went out across the street hoping that I would get my hoping that I would get a new game in the mail, and it turned out that on Columbus Day the post office is closed. So, in my opinion, that's actually kind of a change for the better because I'm expecting a new game from by new, I mean a game from 2006 from Gamefly, and the longer the mail is delayed, the more chances there are of me getting it. Hey there, JP. You didn't miss the last one. I missed the last one, so I should be the one apologizing to you. I don't like bending over like this, so you guys will just have to put up with the shaky cam. Bracelets that protect you. I'm intrigued, Luna. You'll have to tell me about those. You got a haircut, Yuvi? You'll have to show me a picture sometime. You didn't know about Mental Health Awareness Day before, Caitlin? Honestly, I didn't know much about it either. I'm more specialized in like talking about autism, and that's pretty much it. I don't. Autism is considered neurological health, whereas mental health is more along the lines of more like emotional things like bipolar, gender dysphoria, depression. Those are the three I can think of off the top of my head. OCD. Okay, so the thing about OCD is that there are people in this world who are really organized, but that doesn't mean you have OCD. OCD is when you have to have things exactly a certain way for no logical reason. Like if, for example, you have a bunch of video games and in the video games, you have to have it so that they're in alphabetical order. I would say, well, that's stupid. It's not going to change what the games are. It's just changing the placement. It doesn't make any logical sense. But an OCD person doesn't think logically. They say, "Ah, I'm freaking out because the S is after the T." And it's like, no, 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 no. Calm down. It's literally not hurting you. You're just having a panic attack. It's all in your head. Thank you, Matthew. I did indeed just get those photos and I responded to them. So you can go ahead and go ahead and send the letters. Yes, guys, I am okay with sending my address. Probably not on this stream, but if any of you are friends with me on Twitter and you've verified that you're at least 18, then I will accept viewer gifts. I don't want to get in trouble if anyone's under 18. So I'm glad Matthew took the extra step of taking a picture of his ID card so that I could verify, like, yeah, that year of birth adds up to being at least 18. Neurotypical. Okay, neurotypical is a term that means you are not autistic and don't have a neurological disorder. So you are what's called neurodivergent. Anxiety, yeah. Hyperactive, yeah. Yeah, I definitely can see all of those. The thing about anxiety is that there's anxiety disorder and then there's anxiety, which is the mental health world makes everything really confusing. But to put it lightly, everyone has anxiety. Everyone has things that they worry about. But anxiety disorder is when you over catastrophize things in your head and you begin to panic about things that aren't as bad as you think. Like you might say, it's the end of the world that gas is now $5 instead of 4, instead of being calm and rational and saying, okay, this is a setback, but it's not going to be a world threatening disaster. So, a logical and rational person can still have anxiety, but these people can learn how to control it or they can take medication. A sacristan? Sacristan. What? I forgot what a sacristan is. Could you refresh my memory, Teresa? Because when I think of sacristan, I think of the sacramentals, which are like the what do you call them? Wherever you dip your hands in the holy water, that thing. That's what I think of when I think of sacristans. Your orchestra director has OCD, Luna? Okay, guys, let me just make something very clear in case it hasn't been. I actually do read all of your chats really quickly. It's just that I don't always have time to stop mid sentence and address them right away. So if you think I'm ignoring you, I'm not. I'm not good at interrupting. I'm not even good at interrupting myself. So do not freak out. I am seeing everything coming in. I'm even seeing messages that YouTube is holding for review, which most of the time you guys aren't that bad. Like, I don't see why YouTube thinks saying autism is great is a bad thing. Because there are definitely some pros to being autistic. Oh, that's cool, Teresa. So you get to be a decorator. That's neat. What's this news about Smash Ultimate, Yubi? You're not bad at what, Luna? I no, you've okay, when I first knew you, I didn't know what you meant by certain things, but nowadays, no. No, you're totally fine. You are absolutely fine. Luna, if I had a problem with you, I would just kick you out of this stream or I'd give you a harsh warning. Like I actually have done that. There have been people on these live streams that have spammed really inappropriate stuff and I had warned those people like do not come back and they got to be so bad that I had to get a temporary moderator to keep blocking them when they created alternate accounts so that they could get over being blocked and removed. Multiple memories? Uh, I don't think that's technically possible. I mean, obviously everyone like remembers things in a different order. I don't think it will happen, Luna. I think it's just because when I was first streaming, I was not as harsh on my did I remember to pin it? I probably forgot. Yeah, I did forget. I'm sorry, guys. When I before when I started streaming, I would not have that warning that I'm not politically correct and that I easily offend people and all that. So I think a lot of people who came into the streams thinking that I was this really easygoing, can handle anything kind of guy. And now that I've been putting the warning and saying, like, I am not going to tolerate being wishy washy about my faith and talking down on things and calling a girl a they, like, I'm not that kind of person. And now that people know that, I think that like automatically makes those people say, I'm out of here because I know that this guy is going to be strong in his faith and he's not going to put up with my nonsense. Yeah, it was an interesting stream, but like I said, it didn't happen again. Whew. So one thing I wanted to talk about with you guys is I wanted to give you a little bit of an update on my gaming schedule. But just in case not all of you like games, I also wanted to give you a little bit of an update on just some stuff that's been going on in my life. So we'll start out with the gaming first because if I'm doing the math correctly, only half of you actually like that's not that bad in retrospect. So, games that I have coming up that I plan on reviewing, unless they're really terrible, are Mario Hoops 3 on 3, Mario plus Rabbids Sparks of Hope, Persona 5 Royal, Near Automata, which Matthew Rakowski is going to be sending me a copy so I don't have to worry about rental time, Sonic Frontiers, and Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII Reunion. Those are the big six, unless if something drastic gets announced out of nowhere. Then, of course, there are some 2023 titles, but I'm just not going to think about those right now. I'm too busy thinking about how I'm going to make my top 10 list. As far as plans outside of games, I have asked my family to only get me eShop gift cards for my birthday. The eShop is a digital store for the Nintendo Switch. So basically, it lets me shop. Yubi, you never answered my question about Smash Ultimate. What were you gonna say about that? Yes, I am going to rent Sparks of Hope because I have heard weird allegations about Ubisoft, not to be confused with you, Ubi. You're totally different. um, but the company Ubisoft, I've heard things about them, and not only that, but like $60 for a game that looks that rough. I don't know if I want to spend that much money in my current financial situation. I got Kirby's Dream Buffet for $12, and I'm like, that's a reasonable price to spend. Yeah, I know what you're talking about there with your anxiety, Jevil, because I also have anxiety disorder, but I've been on medication for it for so many years uh, I kind of forget about it sometimes. Wow, I'm glad I could be so informative to you, Luna. I really like being able to teach people. So if you guys are ever just like, Paul, I want to hear more information about your favorite thing, like I'm never going to get bored of that. You can keep bringing on the questions. Matthew, I particularly love it when you ask me those random questions. I really love being able to test my knowledge. Again, keeping in mind that I'm not gonna bend over backwards to please thinking that's against my religion, but I will at least try to be objective here. Um, I eShop is not a terrible name. I mean, the very first Nintendo system that had a digital storefront was the Wii, and that was called the Wii Shop. So maybe they wanted it to rhyme. I don't know. Oh, don't worry. I plan on making that Isabel joke again. Oh, that's what you meant, Yubi. That's amazing. Now you and I'll have to start facing each other, and I will probably clobber you because I've been getting pretty good lately. Catholics claim authority on Peter. Okay, so the story behind that is you've probably heard it before, so I apologize if I'm preaching to the choir. But basically, there's a verse in the Bible, specifically in the Gospels, where Jesus asks his disciples, who do you think I am? EIM or ELM? I can't tell what that says, but no, I have not done that certification training. But what I have done is protecting God's children, which basically teaches how to use proper conduct around minors. And I also did a little bit of youth ministerial certification, but not enough to be a full fledged youth minister. Well, we both have things that we're good at, Yubi. So, yeah, you can beat me in Splatoon, I'll beat you in Smash. It balances each other out. And Overwatch 2 is actually free. So maybe I will consider that. Uh okay, I'll try to answer both questions at once. So, let me first answer Matthew's question and then I'll answer yours, Luna. So, uh Catholics claim authority over Peter because in the Gospels, Jesus asked his disciples, "Who do you say that I am?" And Peter's response was, "You are the Son of God, the Messiah, the Christ, etc." Basically, he said, "Jesus, you are what you say you are." And Jesus responds, "It was my Father in heaven that taught you that directly, as opposed to you learning about it from, say, the scriptures or someone else." So then he changes his name. He used to be Simon or Shimon, which is closer to the original pronunciation, and said, "You are Peter." Petra would be a more accurate translation, which means rock. And upon this rock, I build my church. And then he goes on about like priestly authority from there on. So then he says, "Whoever sins you forgive are forgiven. Whatever you bind in heaven is bound on earth," or other way around. And so Catholics interpret that verse as Peter having authority on earth to interpret and guide the people of the Catholic Church because Jesus, in his incarnate human body, was only around for so long before he had to jump well, not literally jump, but go back to heaven. So Peter then, had his disciples. And then after Peter was about to die, he passed on that authority to the next pope. And then that passing down and laying hands on continued for all the generations until we have Pope Francis. So that is a short answer of that. But yes, Catholics believe that Peter was given authority and he just passed it down. So, all right, see you around, Yubi. So, now to answer your question, Luna. Catholic means, well, the word Catholic means universal. But in order to be considered a practicing Catholic, you have to go through what's called RCIA, which stands for Rite of Christian Initiation for Adults, so that you understand what it means to be Catholic. You understand what the church teaches, and you're not just going through the motions. You're not just saying, oh, well, my mom said that this is what the Catholic Church teaches. You actually come to an understanding. And after you have the understanding, you believe and follow the church's teachings. So if you have any personal disagreements with something that the church teaches, like for example, one more recent example is the church is very, very, very pro life. So if you are pro choice, or as I like to call it, pro death, that then you're not a practicing Catholic, because a true Catholic would say the church says you shall not murder. It has always said that abortion is a serious evil. Any kind of murder is a serious evil, but especially abortion, because you're killing literally the most innocent person possible. So I'm glad I could keep teaching you, Luna. But yeah, what was I saying? I meant to address this from the beginning. Let me answer your question, Jevel, and then I'll get back to my train of thought. Um, I have no idea what you're talking about, Jevel. Jesus had no twins, neither did God. Satan was once an angel, and he decided to rebel against God, even though Satan had what was called the beatific vision, which meant that he was told all of God's plan in an instant, and he still said, yeah, screw you. And that's what got him perpetually in hell. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I wanted to address, and this is going to be very controversial. So, again, keep in mind the pinned warning. This may upset a lot of you, and I fully intend, like, if you are, if you are easily sensitive, this might be your cue to leave. So, if you're sure you're okay, all right, that's your last warning. So, a lot of people, they have these terms called homophobia and transphobia. Now, the actual definition of phobia is an uncontrollable and irrational fear of something that cannot be controlled, and it doesn't have any logical sense behind it. For example, someone could be aquaphobic but never had any experience with like drowning. So they just have this inherent fear of the water and they can't control it. It's not like they're trying to be afraid of it, it just happens. So, by nature, if a person is homophobic or transphobic, that would mean that they're irrationally afraid of those kinds of people. But to make a decision that that kind of lifestyle is against a person's belief, by definition, isn't phobia. That's called a difference of beliefs. However, that's not what I wanted to say. That was just something I wanted to get the groundwork of. I wanted to add that if we're going to use devil's advocate here and say that transphobia and homophobia are indeed what the definition says, and they are indeed as bad as people make them out to be, then we have to ask ourselves, okay, what constitutes homophobia and transphobia and sexism and racism? Is it just being uncomfortable with those minorities? Or is it actively trying to murder and oppress them? Because if that's the case, then a person who willingly participates in an abortion or endorses abortion agencies are being transphobic, homophobic, racist, and sexist all at the same time because that baby could be a different race. Sometimes people kill babies because they say, "Oh, this is a girl. We don't want a girl. We'll just kill her." That person could end up being gay or lesbian or trans. So not only are you killing all of these minorities that you're supposedly standing up for, not saying you as in you guys, but like the people that have this agenda about phobias, but you're potentially decreasing the numbers of your own rank. Like if you're hypothetically like a trans person and you want more trans awareness and more trans people, then you shouldn't be in favor of abortion. If anything, you should be more pro life because you'd say, wait a minute, what if I just killed someone who ended up being trans? Your race doesn't have any opportunity to grow. That trans person might end up convincing the whole world that you guys have rights and you just defeated those rights. So, if anything, the LGBT people are actively killing themselves by killing babies. Yes, people do indeed kill because of gender. And yes, it is as sad as you're making it out to be, Luna. Not only do they kill because of gender, they also kill because of race. I don't know the exact statistics, but they say quite a lot of black babies were killed because of the color of their skin. And that's why there aren't as many black people as there should be. More people have been killed through abortion than any other means, even more than wars. And not only that, but the babies can't even fight back. So it, it's just there's no way you can justify that abortion isn't murder. Now, you could make the argument that you're killing a baby for a cause. Like you could say, okay, maybe I want to protect the mother from dying, but that doesn't mean that it's not murder. Logically speaking, that doesn't make any sense because murder is classified as the unjust taking of life. So if it's established that the baby is a life and that life is being taken, then even if you're trying to do something good, that doesn't cancel out it being murder. For example, let's say that two people rob a bank. One person decides, I'm going to rob this bank and I'm going to give the money to the poor people. The other person robs the bank because he's greedy and he just wants to hoard all the money for himself. They're both bank robbers. Just because the one bank robber wanted to do something good with the money, it does not excuse that person from being a robber. So if, say, a woman conceived a child through rape and is super terrified and wants to get an abortion, that does not make the abortion not murder. It's murder for a reason. So whether or not the woman is justified, I mean, in the Catholic Church, abortion is never justified. But basically, if you're even the slightest bit logical, you'll realize that it just does not compute. That sounds cruel. Is it okay if the woman was Oh, okay, so the thing about rape is that one, that's a very, very uncommon way of getting pregnant because wait, what? Oh, I I'm sorry, Luna. Did I say the wrong thing? Because you're like doing a lot of crying emojis. I'm a bit of an old timer, so you might have to clarify what you mean by all these emoticons. Because I use sad face, happy face, and the tongue sticking out. Those are pretty much the only ones I know. I'm sorry, Jevel. I was busy trying to continue my point. Uh, yeah, that's basically what I said. Oh, okay. Okay, that's good. Uh, you can change the topic as long as other people feel like they have the right to talk as well. So I guess like I want you guys to be able to say whatever you want to say, just as long as other people feel like they can also come in and say what they want to say. So like if say someone is asking a serious question and you just abruptly bring up something else to downplay that other person's question, like don't. Like let me give a hypothetical example. Let's say Luna is asking me, Paul, what is the definition of murder? And then someone else comes along and says, hey, Paul, did you hear about the new Mario game? That's called tonal dissonance. It's disregarding that Luna has a serious question. And it's also abruptly changing the topic without naturally flowing. Now, I know that sounds weird to an autistic brain. So, I guess to put it into more blunt terms, make sure that if a person has a question, that I answered the question. That's basically the underlying rule that I want on this YouTube channel is that if someone has a serious question, it should be allowed to be answered. So if you can keep that in mind, then say whatever you want. Oh, I'm so glad I got that whole abortion thing out of the way because that has been on my mind so much ever since Proposal 3 has been brought up. Because whether or not you believe in abortion, say you're not Catholic or not even Christian, and you think that it's totally justified, I still think on a logical level, allowing minors, for that matter, even some under 25-year-olds still don't have that much of emotional maturity to be able to make their own decisions like that is just flat out stupid because they're still going through so much hormones and so much peer pressure and so much bodily changes that to not have parental consent is literally a recipe for disaster. If we had if we had say under 18-year-olds make like running the country, that would be terrible. So I think that it should be up to the discretion of a mature adult guardian figure for that person to have procedures done. In any instance, it doesn't just apply to abortion. It could also apply to going to the dentist. Maybe the minor gets such a bad dentist bill and the dentist can't cover the minor's lack of insurance. So that minor should have gone to a trusted adult and said, "Hey, do you have the insurance to be able to cover this?" So, in other words, most minors are, and I don't mean this to sound offensive because I used to be a minor myself. So I'm poking fun of myself just as much as I am others. Minors are often very stupid. Not 100% stupid. Obviously, some minors are more mature than others, but they usually lack the full critical thinking ability that more or less defines adulthood. Speaking of mental health, depression does not come from autism. Depression and autism are totally different things. Autism is in the realm of neuroscience, depression is mental health. So you're not even talking about the same thing. But to clarify, depression is. Hello, M. Hope I pronounced the rest of your name right. I don't think I remember you from my streams. Either that or you changed your name. So if you have, let me know what your name used to be. And if you haven't, welcome in. We are a very honest and I'd like to say welcoming community. At least I think I am. If I'm not, you guys can go ahead and be blunt about it. Where we talk about video games and psychology, random things that would ever come to my head. And we're also not very politically correct. So expect us to talk about controversial stuff. Welcome in. How's everything going? So, the difference between getting back to your question, Jevel, depression means that like everyone gets depressed. Like everyone has their moments where they say, like, oh man, things are going terrible and I'm just in a really bad place. But clinical depression is when there's chemicals in your brain that prevent you from being able to see the possibility of anything coming good of your life. You think that life is pointless and the world would be better off without you, and you don't see a reason to live. And it's just this really extreme pessimism. Autism can cause depression because having all of those communication problems can definitely be overwhelming. Like a person could become depressed because he or she could say, oh my gosh, this autism is driving me crazy. Why can't I communicate with other people? Like, heck yeah, that would cause depression. But they are not one and the same. You can have depression without having autism, and you can have autism without having depression. They are not the same thing. They are two separate things that can be stacked up on top of each other, just like how you can be both an uncle and a father. It can cause depression, but again, it doesn't inherently cause depression. It's just that a lot of autistic people get into depression because there's overlap and because they struggle so much with society and knowing how to talk and learning all of these rules of conversation. Oh, wow. I think I've answered everyone's questions. If you're wondering why I keep looking over, it's to make sure that I don't accidentally knock over my mom's lamp when I get my water. I think my voice is actually doing pretty well tonight. I'm usually not, how do I word this? My voice is usually a lot more sore. Have I ever, ooh, this could be interesting. All right, Luna, I'm intrigued. I'm intrigued. Mandela Catalog. No, I have not. There's quite a lot of movies I haven't watched. So please illuminate us. What is that? I think you mentioned that earlier, but I forgot to respond to it. So I apologize for that. I've heard of the Mandela effect, but I haven't heard of that particular movie. Honestly, guys, the amount of movies I haven't watched is far greater than the amount of movies I have. A creepypasta, huh? I don't watch too many of those either. The only creepypastas I usually watch are ones that relate to Super Mario 64. Like, I think I watched the one where Mario was about to get to the final level, and instead of seeing a painting of Bowser, Bowser turned into Wario's face and started chasing Mario down the hallway. I think that's the only one I saw. Alex Krister? What's an analog horror? I've never heard that term before. I know analog, like an analog clock means that it has the hands instead of like this watch where it has a digital display. This is digital. Analog, well, I don't want to move the camera too much, but like when it has like the ticking hands, that's analog. Oh, no worries. We all make mistakes on live streams. I wish I wish live streams were like Discord where you could correct yourself without having to send a whole new message. Documentary horror movies, huh? Oh, you've watched them and JP, I totally forgot that you were still here. I hope I didn't drown you out. JP, since you're here, I actually wanted to ask you a question. So, back on the mission trip, I I met these two really cool girls named Jordan and Emma. Do you happen to know either of them? And if you do, can you just give them a short message from me? Tell them I finally figured out how to tell them apart, and I really appreciate how patient they were with my face blindness and just how good they treated me on that trip. Because my gosh, you'd be surprised how many people have bullied me on mission trips and pretty much anywhere because I have trouble with faces. So the fact that they didn't really meant a lot to me that week. Uh, that's a bit too philosophical for my taste, Chapel. So I'll let you think about that. Uh, yeah, you do want to watch most things in chronological order. Unless you're watching Once Upon a Time, where that series just goes all over the place in the Once Upon a Time timeline. I'm actually making a Once Upon a Time timeline, and I'm on season 6. I just haven't gotten motivated to get very far in it because I don't want to spoil the plot, but I will spoil an aesthetic choice. And that is the season where Robert Carlyle cut his hair. And I was fit to be tied because he had such nice long hair for 5 seasons straight. And season 6 came along and he had to do filming for another movie, and that required him to have short hair, and the filmmakers decided that rather than giving him a wig, they just write it into the plot that he would have a haircut, and he looks terrible with short hair. Oh, well, I tried. But hey, maybe they watch this channel and they just haven't announced who they are. That's not actually you in disguise, is it? Or do you just happen to share the first 2 letters with a girl I met? Because that would be amazing. Then again, if you really were Emma, I bet you would probably remember me, so you probably aren't. Emmy? Who's Emmy? Who Someone's gonna join my stream? Uh, I mean, as long as l you said wait, Emmy, that's a girl's name, but oh, I see. Well, I don't have to bring that up if you don't want me to. I'll just treat him like I'll just treat him like anyone else on the stream. Unless he causes mischief, then I will put a stop to it if it happens. I try to make sure everyone here is comfortable and enjoying themselves, and if they aren't, I profusely apologize. I really hope that even the people who are not talking very much are still enjoying themselves. That's well, I hope how do I word this? When you're online, it is doubly hard to know a person's preferences. Like, you have to rely on so many emoticons and clarification in a text that you wouldn't have to say with your voice. Because with the voice, you have what's called intonation and inflection. So you can get away with things like sarcasm much easier with your voice than you can with writing. Don't worry. Don't worry, Luna. You're fine. I mean, I don't even know your real name, so I don't think you have anything to worry about. Whew. So I got totally sidetracked from what I was saying earlier because you guys had some good questions. I was talking about what my plans were for the future, and I got as far as talking about what I was going to get for Christmas. And honestly, I can't think of too much that I'm doing. Um, yeah, no, I'm just trying to be the world's longest running YouTuber, and I am trying to up the standard of my reviews so that they are the highest quality possible, so that you guys don't have to endure mm, the, some of the 240p stuff I did in my early days. Well, Luna, it'll come eventually. So when that day comes, just send me proof, and then after that, then yeah, you can totally do that. Why would why is YouTube holding that for review? It's just an emoji. You're fine. A lot of times when YouTube holds things for review, it's because it's thinking that you guys are doing inappropriate stuff. Because I do have it programmed so that YouTube automatically holds for review something that might be inappropriate. I haven't checked my notifications in quite a while, so if I never responded to anything you guys have said in my videos, I apologize for that. It was probably YouTube and not me because I try to respond to everything. When I see that someone has commented on my videos, I want to make sure that that person has all of their questions answered and that I recognize value in what the person said. Unless the person is deliberately trying to start trouble, then I'll try to be a little bit more of a smart aleck. Because there's one person that commented on my video all about defending how Sonic 3 has different music in Sonic Origins. And the person just wrote, why? And I wrote, because. Yes, YouTube doesn't really like links. Hello, Peggle. Glad you could make it. You deliberately showed up right after we finished talking about something controversial. So leave it to you to be like, I'm just going to wait in the background so that I don't get offended. Oh, good. You guys have stopped shutting, or you guys have shut up about all this abortion stuff. So now I can jump in. Yay. That was totally your mindset, wasn't it? But welcome in, Peggle. What's been the latest news on your end? Hopefully, you're not as tired as you were when you were playing Call to the Lamb. By the way, guys, just in case you didn't know, Peggle is a live streamer, mostly Twitch, but she also does a little bit on YouTube as well. Just follow Miss Peggle 101. Actually, I think on YouTube it's just Miss Peggle, but on Twitter it's Miss Peggle 101. But yeah, she and I have a very very interesting relationship. So you'll be able to see all of my chaos whenever she's streaming. You were up pretty late. Was it because you were doing call? No, you did that in the morning. What were you doing that made you stay up so late that you couldn't come to my stream? You and Skylar are playing Fall Guys? That's nice. Well, I don't really, how do I word this? I don't really see the need to replay Fall Guys at the moment. I am so much more invested in Kirby's Dream Buffet, and I've also got some games coming in the mail. So that's going to probably be keeping me busy. But if I'm ever in the mood for something stupid random, then cool. Well, Luna, you can always give air hugs if all else fails. Fall Guys is actually free. So if you've got an internet connection and a gaming system, you can totally download it. So I think it's on PC or Steam as they call it now. Steam, Switch, basically any of the recent systems that are within this past generation. So yeah, the only thing you have to pay for is like costumes and emotes. Like none of the gameplay mechanics or modes are locked behind a paywall. You and Dragon are watching movies, huh? I hardly ever watch movies, so you'll have to fill me in on what those movies were about. Hopefully, one of them was Scooby Doo on Zombie Island, because I actually have watched that movie. That movie was amazing. Security Breach? I'll give it a try if it ever comes to the Switch, provided that my friends can give me a little bit of backstory on what happened in the previous games. I mean, when I was doing editing for Isabel's mini review on my channel, I did think that she presented it as being pretty interesting. When she talked about the Christian themes of like the deadly sins, I thought, oh, I'm intrigued by that. So yeah, it sounds like it could be fun. I'm not really much of a horror guy. Pretty much the only horror game I've played is Doki Doki Literature Club. But if it's anything like that, I imagine I'll have a blast. You're watching Lucifer. That's interesting. Okay, Xenoblade Chronicles. So first of all, the first three Xenoblade Chronicles games are all on the Switch. So if you've got a Switch, you should have some way of playing them. You don't really have to play them in order. It can help with some of the twists to make them more powerful, but they're not strictly necessary. They just add more context. Like you could still enjoy Xenoblade Chronicles 3 totally fine without knowing about the other two games. Basically, they're action RPGs, and you move around in really humongous environments, and you like move around your character with the control stick, and then you like press buttons on buffering. Anyone else noticing buffering? Okay, hopefully that. Oh, maybe it's just you, Jevil. Weird. Okay, yeah, Jevil, it must have just been your computer because no one else is saying anything. That's cool, Peggle. I'm glad to hear that that might be a thing because the other security breaches, yeah, like you said, the other games are already on there. Caitlin, the reason why I don't really do horror games is because I don't scare that easily, and also just because I don't like the genre. A lot of it involves playing really slowly and like creeping around corners. And I'm the kind of guy where I'm kind of more of a go faster and brute force my way through everything. So like that's why I'm not really a huge fan of the Forsaken Fortress in Wind Waker because it's so slow and you have to wait around a lot. Now you might be arguing, now wait a minute, Paul, you like visual novels, those are slow. But I'm a very fast reader, so I can like finish reading a paragraph and then I can just press the A button to see what the next prompt is. Whereas you can't just like press a button to forward the movement of the moblins in Wind Waker. That's why I don't really like horror games that much. But if you have to go to the doctor, oh man, you still haven't gotten all those headaches and stomach aches sorted out? That stinks. That really stinks. Let me make sure I didn't miss anything that you guys said. I don't think I did. Yeah, I'm good. No, I do not have a TikTok, Luna, and I don't think I ever will because, for one, I'm trying to be the world's longest running YouTuber, so I bet that would distract me too much from my goal. And also, from what I've heard, TikToks, one, they have to be short. Two, they're more for smartphones. And three, from what I've seen, they're just not my style of humor. But maybe I can make stuff that's on the level of TikToks. In fact, I will actually plug my own stuff right here. Something that you might think is like a TikTok. I made a movie called Mario Kart Crosses Over with Tarzan. It's, I think, like 15 seconds long. So I don't know why more people haven't seen it. Basically, I just made a really obscure connection, and I think it'll make you all laugh and not be able to unhear it. See you around, Jevil. Glad you could stop by for a bit. Hope you enjoyed that Fall Guys time. Yes, thank you for censoring that, Peggle. I really appreciate it. What was I saying? Yes, getting back to the TikToks. Yes, if you watch that video, then you might say, "Oh, so that's what Paul does when he has TikToks." What's SML? I can't say I've heard of that. Saying my lines? Is that what it's short for? So I have this running joke that Peggle is really uncultured, but what I mean by that for her specifically is that because she's younger, she doesn't have as much knowledge of these really popular games. But I am uncultured in the case of movies and pretty much anything that's modern. Hey, Kat, glad you could make it. Uh, we've we've gone on quite a lot of rabbit holes in this conversation. We even talked about my views on abortion. So hopefully you weren't just lurking in the corner waiting for me to shut up about the controversial stuff. How's your day been so far, Kat? Speed running again? My gosh. Well, I'm really sorry I can't have it. I guess I could make that a poll on my channel of should I make it an hour later so that you don't have to run? Because you are one of my most faithful viewers. And if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be live streaming at all. So, guys, Kat is also a live streamer. I think she's exclusively Twitch. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think you said you used to YouTube, but then you didn't like it. Um, if you check out, is it splat underscore cat on Twitch? That is that is Kat's channel, and she primarily streams Splatoon. Oh, okay, right. I got it wrong. There we go. Splatcat underscore like that. Anyway, that's where I know her from. Is she actually plays Zelda games? Which, my gosh, not enough people like Zelda. And like I said, Kat is basically more or less keeping me from going to debtor's prison at the moment, so I kind of owe her quite a lot. Not showing your face? I think ask Peggle and Kat about that because neither of them show their faces when they stream either. So they can get you all set up on how to do OBS and all that. I'm sure they'd be more than happy to talk to you off stream as well. I mean, that's up to them what their boundaries are, but yeah, if you guys want to, I don't know, figure that all out. Well, Kat, at least you showed your face after you went to what was it called? Not retcon. I forgot what it was. Uh, yes, Riptide. Yes, knew it started with an R. Kat, did you ever finish telling me everything about Riptide? Because I think you left off on what you were saying about Sunday. Unless if I'm thinking about something else that you forgot to clarify. Because I was really enjoying your story that you were telling about it. I loved how you went in depth about all the little details, such as your car breaking down and all that. Well, that's cool that you got to meet so many people. I would love to go to a gaming convention. You guys would think that I would have gone to plenty with how much I talk about my conferences and mission trips and retreats, but nope. The only thing I have been to that's related to gaming that's a major event was when I went to swing dancing that was themed after video games. And I was one of the only people there that was actually a gamer. Everyone else came just because they wanted to dance. So like I would go up to these cool people with these amazing costumes and I'd be like, "Yo, you like that game too?" They're like, "Wait, what? No, I don't even know what this game is. I just came because I wanted to dress up." So it was kind of a letdown for me. Hope you've cleaned up your car since then, Kat. Yo, that is a great public service announcement. I can never say your name. Furim, I think that's it. Welcome back. I haven't seen you for a while. Glad we could get the mission trip gang back into submission. And JP, you timed it right after Furim, so good for you. It's Splat Cat. Here, let me look it up. Well, silly me. Cat can just tell you her name. Make sure to spell it exactly as it sounds, Cat, so that well, first off, Cat only does it on Twitch, so don't look up look up Splat Cat. I'll let me see if I can find a link just in case Cat can't. Where is my Twitch link? Here we go. Let me know if it starts buffering while I transfer over to Twitch real quick. Actually, it might not let me do. Oh, okay. Have a good one, Peggle. Let me know how the doctor's appointment goes sometime later. Oh, Peggle's fiance is streaming. I'm sorry. I didn't know that. Um, I hope you can forgive me. Okay, I spelled it right the first time, but just in case your computer is being weird, I will copy and paste the link in here. There you go. There you go, Luna. There's where you can follow Cat. Do you want me to also? I'll just do it anyway since I'm on Twitch. I will give you the link for Peggle's Twitch channel. Soon as it loads. No, I did not say that. I said Peggle. I said Peggle specifically. All right, it's being weird. Oh, okay. Okay, that's good. Thanks for giving me that progress update. And what the heck did I do to deserve the what the heck did I do to deserve 5 likes, guys? Like you guys amaze me sometimes. You know that? I seriously have no idea what it is that you guys like about me, but I appreciate it nonetheless. I've never been good at that. Like when people say, "My gosh, Paul, you're amazing." I can never understand why that is. Maybe it's just because I'm like very hard on myself and I like always set myself to really high standards. But maybe it's also just because a lot of people are very uh they lie. Make that 6 what? I'm sorry, Kat. I must have missed the context there, so you'll have to explain. Here is Peggle's channel. Uh, Luna? She doesn't really do too much on YouTube, but she does stream the Danganronpa games and the Zero Escape games. The most likable person ever, Luna. You're slightly exaggerating, but I appreciate it nonetheless because I know what you're trying to say. Oh, that's probably why. Yeah, I see. Because, yeah, Peggle does swear and say some adult stuff. And I don't think Kat does adult stuff, but I don't think she's opposed to it either. Kat, I don't usually hear you swear, but every now and then in the Discord you might like say the H word. So maybe because you do that every now and then, maybe that's why. Well, what you could do, Luna, is you could write down both of their usernames and then ask for permission later. Oh, well, thank you for being so specific, Kat. I really appreciate it. Wow. That's definitely one thing that you and your sister have in common because Kat's sister is also a streamer. Her name is Sploon Ghost. You should follow her as well. Well, Sploon doesn't stream games as much. She's more about like arts and music. Kat is more of the gamer, but they both do live stream and they're both really good at it. Um, but yeah, growing up, I was very popular in school, but then I like lost all that popularity after I was kicked out of school. And then I became like kind of like people found me really annoying after I got kicked out of school. So it was one of those really rare instances where I actually felt less bullied at school than I did out of school. Because I loved it when I was at school, I loved it. I loved it so much that I would complain every weekend and I'd say, "Why can't school be on Saturdays and Sundays?" I loved being woken up early in the morning. I loved seeing all of my classmates. Admittedly, my school was very different than what most of you were thinking, but it was still so much fun. And I learned so much, forgot most of it. Oh, no problem, Kat. As long as you don't forget about it at all, then I'm totally cool with you having to wait. So, Kat, I don't think you told me about your well-being yet. We've just been so busy with me trying to teach Luna how to follow you that I don't think you told me about like what's been going on. I know you've been busy with school, but I haven't really seen you stream lately. So, has it just been school? Have you gotten a chance to like play any video games lately? Luna, one thing that I can do is not that I don't think you'd like it very much because I don't really post on it much, but I do have a Twitter page. So if you ever want to see what I comment on other people's videos, if you go to my channel's page and then go to the About section, there's a link to my Twitter, assuming you have permission for it. But I don't post on it much because I just have this channel where I can post my stuff. But I do like to make jokes on my friends' tweets. Yes, we're always doing good when we have food. For some weird reason, that's I'm sorry to hear that, Kat. There've been some pretty good stuff lately. Did you by any chance watch Okay, it said my connection was unstable, which is weird because the Wi-Fi is literally right across the hall from me. So I don't think I missed anything. Kat, I was wondering if you watched my review of Kirby's Dream Buffet, because that is very much like Fall Guys, except that it actually has an offline mode, so you can play with bots. I mean, you don't have to watch it if you don't want to, but I just thought if you really like Fall Guys, then that is a game that I would consider as an alternative, especially if you like Kirby, because my gosh, that game celebrates Kirby so much. It's really incredible. And I'm not even that big of a Kirby fan, and I love it. So that's saying a lot. I think it's mostly because it has jazz bands in it, and I love real instruments. It's in on Pagel's channel, it's in self-promo, so just look at the second to most recent thing I posted, and there will be a link there, or just look at some of the most recent things I posted on this channel. Either way, it's a pretty recent post. I think I did it, like, yesterday, so it shouldn't be that hard to find. So just a heads up, guys, I didn't tell my folks exactly how long I would stream, but I estimated about an hour and a half. So depending on how well my water lasts, and depending on what my folks say, I may have to end the stream abruptly. So just like keep that in the back of your minds. Like I'm not trying to ignore anyone or say like, no, I don't like you guys. I'm out of here. Like it'll literally because I'm trying to respect everyone else that lives in my house. I know that some people, no, I'm not leaving anytime soon, Luna. It's just if that happens, just keep that in mind. You haven't told me much about yourself yet. Was there anything you wanted to mention? Like anything. Just if you want to tell us who you are, what you like, anything like that, just go for it. Oh gosh. I was gonna say, oh yeah, finishing high school soon. Wow, that's cool to hear. Hope you manage to. Oh, have a good one, JP. I'm glad you could stick around as long as you did. Oh, cat. Seven, like, guys, y'all crack me up, but it's appreciated nonetheless. Well, from what I've heard, college is both more freeing and less freeing than high school at the same time. I never went to either, so I have no idea what it's like to be a high school student. So if you want to talk about your experience with high school, that's totally fine as long as you leave out any personal details if you're still a minor, because I don't want to get anyone in trouble here. Because I don't know if you guys remember this, because I don't think any of you are YouTubers, or at least hardcore YouTubers like me. But back in 2019, there was this company called COPPA, which stands for the Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. And they are terrible at communicating, or at least they were before it got sorted out. But basically, they said starting in 2020, of all years, it would, yep, still going, Teresa. They would crack down on any YouTubers where they had content that was aimed and targeted towards minors, specifically kids 13 and younger. Like, I think high school teenagers were okay, but like middle school and under was considered children. So that was really terrifying for me because I definitely didn't want to target kids, but like some of my content could be considered all ages type of appropriate, like if I'm reviewing a Just Dance game, for example. Thankfully, a Roblox YouTuber of all people reached out to Kappa and said, "What the heck? You're going to fine these innocent YouTubers $25,000?" And I said, "No, we're looking for egregious targeters." and my channel has been fine ever since then. My YouTube analytics say that I have like no one between the ages of 13 and 17, which probably means that there's like one or two people that are minors watching my channel. So I don't know. YouTube analytics are weird. They say that I don't have that many girls watching my channel when I know for a fact that is a blatant falsehood. I happen to know at least two females that have the bell icon notified. Probably three if you count Cat. Whoa, guys, I would recommend not putting that in chat just in case someone tries to take advantage of you for that. I'm really sorry. I don't mean to be rude. I don't mind you telling me your age. I just don't want anyone to take advantage of you. So you're good. You're totally good. You didn't do anything wrong. It's more for your protection than breaking any rules. Your high school is very small. Didn't Oh, hey, that's better than nothing, Kat. Because when I was after I was kicked out of school, I went like a good several years before I made really good friends. So good on you. Yeah, people have really weird perceptions about age. Like the other day when I was at work, I just casually mentioned that I was out of school, and this one woman at the gym said, you look like you're old enough to be my grandson." Not just son, but grandson. Like, am I really that young looking, guys? Do I really look like I could be in high school or middle school? Like, be honest with me. Do you really think that someone with this rough of a face and this big of an Adam's apple and this shaggy of hair, like, does it really look like I'm that young? 20, huh? Yeah, that it is. Yes. I wouldn't say you look like a 40-year-old cat. I would say that I know your actual age, and from my experiences being around people that age, I would say you act your age from my experience. I'm getting up there. I'm getting up there. Thank you for saying that, Em. I'm sorry, Luna. I'm not good at interrupting myself, but I'm glad to say that you and I are, I guess, friends in a loose sense is nice. Okay, so there are usually standards for emotional maturity. So acting your age basically means, okay, let me put this in blunt terms. Basically, there's standards of mental development. And these standards, of course, are generalizations because some people mature faster than others. Like, for example, a 1 year old is not going to be able to be smart enough to vote and make rational decisions. But just because someone is 8 when the age of reason is 7 does not mean that that person is not at that standard. It's just that everyone matures slightly different, but 7 is the average age of the age of reason. So therefore, people of Cat's age tend to have a certain maturity level, but that doesn't mean they can't go over it. It's just a tendency. And from my experience of knowing Cat, she very much acts like that age range because I have been around people like that, and yeah, they definitely act like that. I'm not criticizing you in any way. I'm actually complimenting you quite a lot. No, I think you can be very silly and random, but that doesn't make you dumb. I think you I think you just like to be expressive with text at least. Sometimes in your streams you're a little bit more serious, but like a lot of times you just love to bring up something that's totally um like r- you just have this silly side to you. But I don't think that's immature. An immature person is someone who tends to be like very emotionally driven and does things based on impulse. Like, ooh, I see a cookie. I'm going to eat that cookie. I'm not going to think about the ramifications. I'm not going to think about the calorie count. I'm just going to do it. That is immature. A mature person can say, okay, how long was it since the last time I had a cookie? Should I monitor how much cookies I have? Maybe with my metabolism, I can afford to eat a cookie as long as I skip out on this. That's maturity when you're able to reason out things in such a way that you think about what it means and apply it to survival. That's the shortest explanation I can muster. Yeah, yeah, you don't strike me as the type that's a partier, but you did go to Riptide, so you got that going for you. I have been to several conferences that are like Riptide, but they were all Catholic conferences. So they were similar in the sense that like you could walk around and meet people of similar interests, but instead of like meeting a bunch of gamers, you just meet a bunch of Catholics. And don't get me wrong, I loved those conferences. I'm actually wearing a t-shirt from one of them right now. Um, and on the back, I don't feel like turning myself around, but on the back it says Wind Team Paul. And oh, I probably won't even be streaming until that long, Luna. So you probably won't even have to worry. My throat is starting to go, so it might be pretty soon that I wrap it up. But based on what you said, Kat, yes, it may not have been a party, but it seemed like that atmosphere where like you'd wear a name badge and you'd be able to just start a conversation with anyone because you knew, oh, because I'm at Riptide, therefore every single person has some kind of connection to gaming. I have never been to one of those. That is what I would like to do. But if I never get to do it, then I'm thankful that I went to as many Catholic conferences as I did. Because my gosh, going to NCYC and having 23,000 people that are all just like willing to just have a casual chat about Jesus out of nowhere, to just be able to go up to anyone and say, "Hey, can I pray for you?" Like, it is a feeling that I would not trade for anything. I loved my mission trips because even if you couldn't think about a Catholic thing to talk about, you could at least talk about the work. And Kat, I know that you have experiences with mission trips, so you can at least relate to this part. Like, if I didn't know how to start a Catholic conversation, I'd just say, "So, what kind of work projects did you guys do?" And so we'd compare like work notes. And then after that, like if the topic came up about like what did you guys talk about at lunchtime, then we would say like, "Oh, that kind of reminds me of this element of our faith." And a lot of times I'd be like, "Yo, you guys excited for Eucharistic adoration tonight?" And then that would prompt something. Or like for the newbies on the mission trip, I'd say like, "Tonight is Four Corners night. Do you guys want to know what Four Corners is?" And they'd say like, "Oh, yes, please." So then I'd go in depth about what it was, and then I'd talk about like the benefits being prayed over. And that person would say, "Oh, wow, that sounds like something I was totally needing." JP and Furim Industries, I actually met both of them through my mission trips. And my gosh, I'm glad that they remembered that my channel exists because not too many people do. Yes, Kat, I would agree that at the conferences that I went to, that was probably the easiest time I've ever had at starting a conversation since I got kicked out of school. Because when I was in school, I was the popular kid. Like everyone knew me. I got along with well, almost everyone. I think there was like one person I didn't get along with. What did you just say, Luna? Because that's in Japanese or Korean. Four corners is so there's actually multiple different definitions of four corners. There's a certain place in the US where you can stand in four states at once. It's also a game in basketball. But in the case of the mission trip, four corners is where you've Yeah, not that Four Corners cat. This is a totally different one. Um, the Four Corners on Mission Trip is basically you would have these various stations at the different parts of the room. Like one station would be like praying for this person's faith. The other station would be praying for a friend. Another station would be like uh, praying for healing. And then reconciliation is, of course, always the fourth corner. So basically, it's you choose what it is that you need out of your spirituality. And so the adult chaperones on the trip are given these fake candles, and they sit down in whichever corner they think they're the best at praying over. And then the teenagers are told, like, hey, you can go up to any adult with a candle and you can get prayed over as long as, and this is what they stress to the teenagers, these adults are not trained professionals. You're not going to get advice, you're getting perspective. So they come in with the knowledge that they're there to be prayed over. They're there for some, like, if the adult has been through what the teenager has been through, then the adult can say, like, oh yeah, when I was your age, I went through this, here's how I handled it, maybe that'll help you. And so it's just a lot of praying over, a lot of crying. It's definitely a very emotional time. um I was actually brought to tears hearing one girl's story, and I don't usually cry when I hear people's stories, so that's saying a lot. Luna, what is it with you and being in a different language? Um, Cat, you should you should watch what I'm not saying that in a like a you said anything wrong, but I just think it's hilarious that you'd want to be a kid on that mission trip because my gosh, teenagers have so much going on. And I think like being an adult has made me so grateful that I'm past all of that and that I can see things more maturely. And it's just so great to be able to be the one giving the praying over as opposed to receiving it. Good one, Caitlin. Do I need help? With what? What was I saying? Oh yeah. So for me, it was a huge honor when I was told, like, hey, you have the opportunity to have teenagers come up to you and ask you for prayer. It was such a wonderful moment in my life. Like, honestly, I wish I could just replay it at any time. I wish I could just like have a Four Corners live stream one of these days. I highly doubt that'll ever happen. But it just felt so cool to have that candle and have the ambient lights, and the music would be playing really softly and reflectively. And then sometimes they would come in groups, but usually they came one at a time, and they'd come and it was usually girls for some reason. Like, I don't know, I guess I must have made a better impression on the girls than the guys. And the girls have like often said, like, hey Paul, this is something I'm going through, and they're usually crying when they say that. So then I like take their hands in like a kind of a COVID-y position where it's like you're not like holding hands, but it's hard to explain. But either way, you'd like get into this praying position, and I'd ask the Holy Spirit for intercession. And then usually I'd have like this image pop into my head, and I'd say, this is something I was thinking about while praying for you. Maybe see if this is relevant. And every single time, without fail, the teenagers would stop crying by the end of it and they'd say, wow, Paul, this really made a difference. One of the girls, in fact, had her entire mission trip changed because do you guys want me to tell you that story? Because it's going to sound like I'm bragging without context. Kat, if people ask you for advice, then maybe you are secretly wiser than you let on. Maybe you're just being too hard on yourself. Okay, so I have a lot of stories about Four Corners, so I'm going to try to keep this brief because my gosh, I could probably devote a whole live stream just talking about the mission trips and nothing else. But this particular one in 2015 was particularly relevant to me because that was the year that I discovered that I had depression. Thankfully, I've been out of depression since 2016, so yay for me. Well, maybe in certain aspects you have good advice. So, this was 2015, and I was in really bad depression, and it was a pretty pathetic mission trip, honestly. Like, I didn't really like a lot of the teenagers that were there. I can't think of a single one of them that I kept in contact with. Not that I was really trying that hard, because you're kind of, yeah, you have certain restrictions when you're in a chaperoning position of like how much you're allowed to say and not say with minors. So I kind of didn't try to pay attention to them a whole lot for the sake of their own protection. So, as I was talking in the cafeteria, I would often like bring up all this godly stuff. And like some of the teenagers would notice what I was talking about and like crowd around at my table and listen. But one girl in particular was just like leaning forward so much that I was getting these really weird vibes from her. I was like, is this minor hitting on me? Because that would be kind of creepy. So it turns out that once we got to Four Corners night, it wasn't that she was hitting on me. It was actually that she was looking for advice on what to do if she dropped dead during the mission trip. Because she had a condition, and I don't want to give too many details, but she had a condition that basically made it so that at any time she could have passed away. And she was wondering like, I'm at a Catholic camp and I want to know like what is going to happen to me if I do die. I'm afraid of dying. What's going on? That was the story I told you guys about that made me cry because I was more or less going through the same thing back then. So what I did was, well, first I prayed over her. And then I said, I'm going to spoil the ending of my book, which to this day I haven't shared with anyone else who hasn't read that book. And I said, this character I named, well, I didn't name it after her literally, but she just happened to share a name with that main character. And I said, this is what happened to the character in that book. After everything that this girl went through, this is the reward that awaited her. And this is the reward that I am promising you. And if you do die at the camp, I am going to promise you that you are not alone and that we are going to be here for you and that you're in a loving, caring family of mission trippers. And eventually her friend showed up while I was talking, and then she was really inspired. And by the end of it, she was like beaming widely, and she was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much, Paul. I really needed to hear that. And then the even cooler part came after that. Hopefully, you guys haven't fallen asleep because this is the really cool part. So then, after the camp was over, I was thoroughly miserable. I wasn't thinking in this hindsight language that I'm doing right now. I was thinking about all the things that I hated about that trip. How I didn't really like the work. I didn't really like most of the teenagers because they were very immature, even by teenager standards. I didn't really like much of the programs. I hated the atmosphere. But then I was about to head out, and three of the girls, including the one that I talked to at Four Corners, came up to me and they said, Paul, we were so inspired by what you had to say about God that we were hoping that you could come back to Catholic Heart next year. And I'm like, are you guys kidding me? I hated it here and I really don't want to come back. And they said, please, Paul, is there anything we can do that'll change your mind? And I'm like really sarcastic at this point. So I said, well, okay, so the Catholic Church has this thing called the St. Joseph's Novena. Supposedly, it never fails to whoever prays it. So, yeah, just pray that and that'll convince me. Well, I have no way of confirming if they actually did or not, but based on what I'm about to tell you next, I think they actually did. Let me address your thing real quick, Kat, before I forget. Yeah, I can see why that would be nerve-wracking. But at least high schoolers are way more mature than middle schoolers. At least I'll give them that much. Like with high schoolers, you can hold a semi-intelligent conversation with them. Whereas with middle schoolers, it's like they're either really quiet, where they like only say like, yes, sure, or they're like so loud that you can't get a word in edgewise. Whereas with high schoolers, they're a little bit more evened out. Like, sure, there are some that are more outgoing or quiet than others. But generally speaking, they're like, okay, yeah, sure. We'll talk about the afterlife. We'll talk about Eucharistic theology. That's cool with me. So yeah, I would infinitely prefer chaperoning high schoolers over middle schoolers any day. But yeah, getting back to my story. So then I basically told the adult in charge, like I said, I don't want to go on any other mission trips. And it was around, I think, like April of 2016, give or take. And I was just hanging out at the park. And all of a sudden, I heard this very clear voice in my head saying, there's a girl that needs you on the upcoming mission trip. You need to go. And it like prompted me so much that I said, this has got to be you talking, God. And I'm pretty sure it was a direct result of those girls praying the novena. And so I said, hey, Julie, you got room for one more? And thankfully she did. And I did go on that mission trip. And I did what's called Operation Sister Smile, where I helped my sister get out of something she was going through. So it turned out that the girl that needed me wasn't even a girl that was on the trip. It was a girl that stayed home that didn't want to go on the trip. And all of these other people on the trip signed a notebook. And I gave her that notebook and I said, here's how many people were praying for you and caring about you on that trip. It is getting really hot in here, guys. I might call it a day right now just for the sake of getting back in the fan. Oh gosh. You want me as a chaperone, Luna? You might regret that. Because I am very, very strict when it comes to following the rules. I make sure that the lights are out at exactly 11 o'clock. I make sure that everyone knows the agenda. And you want to meet me in real life, Kat? I honestly would love to meet you as well. Like, send me a message on Discord, and we can try to work something out. I honestly would be overjoyed. Hey, I met Isabel. Yes, I do already know what you look like, and you know what I look like. I met Isabel this year. So if she and I can do it, then I think you can do it. Oh, I know you were just messing around, Luna, but in all seriousness, like, I don't think you would like me very much as a chaperone. I think you would like my sense of humor and how, like, I mesh really well with teenagers, but I don't think you would like me enforcing the rules that much. Because I am very much a very do this, do that type of guy. And I don't really tolerate teenagers like trying to bend the rules. I probably come across as more of an executive boss on conferences. Although at the same time, I've also heard teenagers say that they liked that about me and that some of them like actually missed me telling them off for not turning out the lights. No, actually, I can't, Luna. Even if I wanted to, I can't because I work two jobs currently and I really need to prioritize getting those done. I only get 2 full days off in the week. I say full because my schedule is relatively complicated, but I if it weren't for those two jobs, I probably wouldn't be able to keep the house. But I'm glad that I'm glad that you brought that up. Sundays and Saturdays are my 2 full days off. On Friday, I work my first job, but not my second job. And then every other day, I have a mixture of, yes, very much Catholic things. Every other day, I have a mixture of both jobs. So, like, I'll go to my first job, come home, eat, and then work on my second job because my second job's a stay at home job. And I was able to get a lot of work done earlier today, which is why I'm able to live stream. And she also, my friend who, because I'm a subtitle editor, my friend basically said I was allowed to set my own hours. So if I feel like I need to take a day off, she's not going to get too mad at me. She pays me by the video instead of by the hour. So I tend to, basically, it means that every single minute that I spend on the videos is going directly towards my paycheck. So if I take a bathroom break, that means less time for the paycheck. And I like it like that. I like being paid for actual work instead of just being paid there by the hour. I mean, it's not like my boss really has a choice. That would be super inappropriate if I'm the janitor at a gym and I say, "Hey, boss, I got to go to the bathroom. So can you not pay me for the next 2 minutes?" Like, my gosh, that would be borderline stalking. And I don't think she would be very comfortable with doing that. So I'm glad that I have a by hour job and a by video job so that I can have the best of both worlds. Anyway, guys, I'm going to hop off because my water's almost done. I'm getting hot. And yeah, I don't know how you do it, Kat. I just don't have your stamina for talking in front of a camera for so long. All right. Well, thank you so much, Luna. Thank you, M. Thank you, Caitlin and Kat. I hope I didn't miss anyone. Jevel, no, Jevel had it out already. Furim Industries, uh, Matthew Rakowski. I don't know if he showed up. Yeah, thanks a lot for coming by. You know that I make more videos than just live stream, so make sure to check out my regular content. I often make a joke that I'm as much of a streamer as Kat's sister is a gamer because she hardly ever plays games. I hardly ever stream. So I hope to be known more for my pre-made content than for my streams. So yes, as Kat said, hit the bell if you like my stuff. Unhit it if you don't like it. I don't like pity subs, so if you're like, I'm just going to subscribe to you because I like you, Paul, don't. Subscribe only if you really want to see my stuff. 8, it only says 7 for me. I imagine that that was your doing, Kat. All right, guys, my water just ran out, so thanks again so much for coming. All right. Well, I'll take your word for it. All right, guys. Well, until the next time, I hope you have a wonderful day. And remember to keep the faith, stay epic, and God bless. And Kat, I can't wait to hear your DM message about possibly getting to meet each other. Bye.